So I'm gonna tell you some of the things that I've heard about this car. Now, a lot of Lexus people are not gonna like me for saying this, and I'm sorry. YouTube, what is y'all doing? It's just a regular Monday morning, going through the usual motions, being a parent, dropping my daughter off at daycare. You know, the adulting thing. But anyway, it's been about a year since I've owned this Lexus GSF. I picked this car up a year ago. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. I think it's okay. But it's been a year since I've owned this vehicle. We put about 3,000 miles on this car in the last year. Obviously, it doesn't get driven that much because I have other vehicles. But nonetheless, I wanted to talk about the ownership of this vehicle. And I also got another topic I want to touch on. I want to talk about, so Doug DeMuro did a video on this car when it was new. And he said some things, and I want to kind of talk about them and see if they are true or not. But we're gonna get into that later in this video. I want to talk about my ownership first and things like that. So I'll get into that. So first things first, the thing people always want to know about luxury performance cars is maintenance. What has the maintenance been like? For this car, honestly, it's just been oil changes. I do want to do the spark plugs here soon. I haven't yet. When I bought this car, I looked up the history on it. It was actually being serviced at a Lexus dealership, and they had a lot of the fluids flushed. They had transmission fluid flushed, the rear diff, all that stuff was done. So I didn't really touch any of that because I knew that it had already been done. I could do it again for a peace of mind, but I pretty much trust it. I think it's done. It wouldn't show up on the Lexus site if it hadn't been done, because it was actually performed by a Lexus technician. So that's pretty much been it as far as like maintenance. It's been oil changes, and I've only done one because I've only got 3,000 miles on. Since I got the car, I've only put 3,000 miles on it. I think when I first got it, I put another 1,000 miles on the car, and then I did an oil change. So on this oil that I have now, I only have 2,000 miles. As we pull up to the gas pump, the next thing I want to talk about is fuel. So yes, fuel. This is a naturally aspirated V8 engine, and it's in a full-size sedan, so naturally the gas mileage is not going to be the best. So what Lexus did to kind of offset the cost of gas in this car was give you an 8-speed transmission. What I will say is, if you drive this car like you got some decency, it's pretty good. The gas mileage is honestly not that bad. You can get into like 20 plus mile range, 20 plus miles a gallon. But if you don't, if you don't drive this car like you got sense, you're gonna pay for it at the pump. And that's typically me. I'm not filling this car up because I don't drive it enough to justify filling it up. I'd rather fill up the daily. So the next thing I want to touch on is quality. What is the quality of this vehicle like? Honestly, if you've never owned a Lexus, they make really quality vehicles. And they tend to hold up through the test of time, honestly. This one, with only 83,000 miles on it now, I mean, mint. But nah, seriously, it's really clean. Like, I haven't had to do, the previous owner took pretty good care of this car, I would say. It's not, no rips in the seat. It's not any real damage to it. As far as like the interior is concerned, I mean, you got little scratches around the center console where all that glossy plastic is. But I think that's typical. Overall, I think the quality of this vehicle is pretty good. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is kind of, I don't know, I guess it's kind of what you make it. How do people perceive this car? So off the top, most people aren't gonna know what this car is. They're gonna look at it. So I'm gonna tell you some of the things that I've heard about this car. I've had somebody tell me they thought it was a Camry. Somebody asked me, was it a Hyundai? Most people, the average person, is probably gonna look at this car and think that's a nice car, but not really know what it is. They're gonna think you got some type of fancy Genesis, or I don't know, Hyundai or whatever, or some people even know it's in a Toyota family. It's not perceived as you would think. Like a lot of people get Scat Packs and Hellcats, and people know, hey, that's a Scat Pack, that's a Hellcat, you know. And this kind of flies under the radar. Like it's kind of, it falls more into that sleeper sedan. So a lot of car guys, they buy cars and they want to go to car meets, and they're wondering like what people are so obsessed with how other people are gonna feel about their cars and their modifications and stuff like that, because people generally want to fit in. If you're just trying to fit in, I'm gonna say that this is probably not the car for you. There's not a ton of these around, so naturally most people don't really know what they are. I've had people approach me and ask me, was this a Camry? Somebody told me they thought it was a Camry back when it was black. And then somebody else asked me, was it a Hyundai, because this color that I wrapped it in is similar to one of the Hyundai colors. He was like, that's the same color as my Hyundai. Is that a Hyundai? I was like, not at all a Hyundai. So most people aren't gonna really know what this car is. And if you're okay with that, I in fact, I love that, because I'm fine with you thinking that my 500 horsepower JDM sedan is just a regular Camry, because then you won't bother it. But people who do know what they are, they will come up to you and ask questions. Since I've wrapped this car, it's gotten a lot more attention. It's like people are more aware that, you know, all right, that's not the usual thing. One of the things that really kind of hurts it too as well from stock is that it's not loud. Like, there's a big 5-liter V8 under the engine bay and nobody can hear it. It doesn't sound like a performance car at all from stock. So then you're gonna want to do modifications to it, which there are a lot of modifications to this car, which brings me to my next point: modifying. It seems like everything for this car is super expensive. Exhaust, brakes, like everything is super expensive, and you're gonna want to put quality parts on this car because it's a nice car. It's a quality car. So you're gonna end up spending a lot of money on modifications. I got a ton of modifications I want to do that I haven't pulled the trigger on, simply because it's like, do I really want to spend that much? Like, do I want to spend $3,000 for an exhaust? You know, I was like, coilovers, for decent coilovers, you looking at a minimum $2,000 shipped. I mean, they got some cheaper options, but you're gonna want to go as quality as possible within your budget. So it starts to get challenging modifying this car. Carbon fiber aero kits on the outside, thousands of dollars. It's just it gets expensive real fast owning one of these cars and wanting to modify it. So while we're on the topic of exhaust, I'm gonna answer some questions real quick, and I might put this as like a chapter in the video or something where you guys can navigate to it quickly. I had a lot of people reach out to me asking me questions about this exhaust. This exhaust from the inside of the car is almost non-existent from factory. Like I can't even really tell it's there. From the outside of the car, that is what it sounds like. You don't hear that at all on the inside of the car. And all I've done is the epoxy mid pipes to my stock exhaust. At some point, I do want to do exhaust cutouts just so I can, like, you know, make it louder and more quiet. But that's further down the line. So I just wanted to answer that question. Another question that I had in the previous video, somebody asked me, was I gonna make more GS400 content? Bro, I still own the car. I plan on making content on the car as long as I own it. It's probably not gonna be as fast because I got 3 cars that I own that they all need different things at different times. So I kind of have to work that in. But yes, I do plan on making more GS400 content. The last thing I want to do on this video is touch on some of the things Doug DeMuro said. Well, one thing in particular, and he made the statement in the video, this is not a good new car, but it's an awesome used car. Now, a lot of Lexus people are not gonna like me for saying this, and I'm sorry, but I gotta be truthful about how I feel about those statements in this car. I don't know if it was Lexus just trying to boost demand for this car, or they just wanted it to fail. And the reason why I say that is because this car, when it came out, you were gonna spend $90,000 on this car. And what you got was a 5-liter V8, pretty reliable, pretty potent engine. This was back in 2016, so this was before COVID prices. But you had $90,000? To me, that was a little wild, you know, because especially when you consider, okay, I can pay $90,000 for a GSF when at the time I think you could get a Hellcat for like 70 grand. What are people gonna really choose? And you know, I get that, but it's like they didn't really put this car in a position to, I guess, sustain when they put it out at that price. I guess they were thinking, let's just go out with a bang. Let's make it most expensive because it's gonna be we're gonna be phasing it out soon, so let's just make it really expensive. I have no idea what they were thinking, but I do think, and I've never owned a $90,000 car, so I can't really tell you what a new $90,000 car should be. But from my perspective of this vehicle, would I have paid $90,000 for this car new? Absolutely not. But here's the thing. I'm a car guy. I don't want to pay top dollar for a car. Like, and I'm a DIY type of guy too. I don't want to buy a new car. I'd rather buy something with a little bit of miles on it that I can put mods on, pay off faster, make it my own, enjoy it for a while, maybe get rid of it or keep it. But I don't want to pay full price for, or MSRP for a car. So yes, I agree with Doug DeMuro. I think that this car is a better used car than it was new. I think it was a great new car. If you bought one, you got a car that's probably gonna last you for a long time. But the thing that you have to consider is most people that are spending that much for a car don't really care about reliability. Like, a lot of people want to make the reliability argument. It's like, you spending $90,000 on a car. Like, you why do you care about, you probably gonna keep this car for a little while and move on. Like, reliability goes out the window. By the time you get 50,000 miles on this car, you probably sold it. You know, it's like, you're not gonna keep it through nobody. I don't know anybody that's paying $90,000 for a car right now and putting 200,000 miles on it. Like, so the reliability argument kind of goes out the window in that price point. Like, people in that price point, they don't really care about reliability. They buying Range Rovers, Porsches, BMWs. Not to say those aren't reliable, but you get what I'm saying. Like, most people don't really care about reliability in their price point. So it's not a good argument when you start talking about $90,000. I think this is a car that will run long term. It'll be very desirable in the future. But brand new, it's just not $90,000. No, I don't know how to express my thoughts on that. I feel like they kind of position this car where it would fail. Like, they didn't really care if it succeeded or not. All in all, what are my thoughts on this vehicle? I love my GSF. This is one of the best cars, if not the best car that I've ever purchased. It's been a great ownership. It's given me zero issues. I can't say anything bad about the car. I do think the navigation display is a little clunky, but I mean, it's a 2016. It works. I mean, I can't fault it. I can't be mad. I knew what it was when I bought the car. I love the seats, the interior. What really drew me to this car was, at the end of the day, it's something different. I didn't want to be like everybody else and just go buy a scat pack. I felt like that was too easy. And then, like, if you look at the market on those cars now, they're just tanking because everybody went and bought scat packs and Hellcats and stuff like that, and Dodge just keeps making them and price gouging on them. So now the prices on them are just, I'm starting to see Hellcats creeping to the $30,000 range. And you're still seeing like 80,000 mile GSFs in the 40. And it's because it's a rare car. It's something more desirable, I feel like, because I feel like they made too many Hellcats and scat packs, and the car culture has not been very nice to those. They have a reputation that a lot of people try to avoid, and I just didn't want to be like everybody else and get a scat pack. Not to knock the scat packs. I've always thought they were beautiful cars, and I've liked the Hemis, but I don't know. I've never been the follower type. If I see everybody else doing something, I'm gonna figure out a different approach to what I want to accomplish, and that's just been me. So yes, all in all, I do agree with Doug DeMuro. I don't think this was a great new car to buy, but I think it's an excellent used car. If you're looking for one, get one. I think these cars, I kind of base what these cars value are gonna do based on the ISFs, because those cars are still 150,000 miles. People want 25 to 30 grand for them, and that's, to me, that's wild. But I think you can kind of expect something like that to happen with the GSF. The RCF maybe not so much, because I feel like they're making a lot of RCFs. And if you look at the values of the RCFs, like, they don't hold their value as good as a GSF or an ISF. Or IS 500 for that matter, but the IS 500 is a lot newer. So, unless you got like some type of special edition or something that just everybody wants. But anyway, guys, that's gonna conclude this video. I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna get some thumbnails, do whatever I gotta do. Enjoy this day. I gotta get to work. I hope y'all have a blessed day. Y'all know what to do. That's gonna conclude this video. Peace.